Ada Lovelace was a mathematician and often called the first computer programmer. According to the Office of the Chief Scientist, women make up of only 28% of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics workforce. The number have been decreased even more for women in new and emerging tech industries. So picture this. CJ Jones, the head of generative AI design from Canva, unveiling the secrets of AI in design. Cheryl Shannon, technology deployment manager from IBM, decoding the intersection of sports and data, and Cassie Jenkins, Horticultural Operations Technician from Invertigro, cultivating the future of indoor vertical farming. No, we're not in the future. This happened in real time as we held our exciting second live podcast event, which brought together over 100 curious minds in the audience and these brilliant women in STEM experts on the panel. Welcome to Emerging Tech Unpacked, an educational and inspirational podcast that demystifies and removes jargon from emerging technologies and features the incredible career stories of women in STEM leadership. My name is Lucy Lynn, and today we'll be coming to you from a live podcast recording held at the Australian Computer Society in Sydney. We will learn the latest in AI-powered design, the advances in sports data analytics, and how indoor vertical farming is reshaping agriculture. We will explore how these cutting-edge innovations and technologies are transforming our world. We are also women who are passionate about progressing and advancing our careers. We spoke about the future of work, the importance of upskilling and flexibility, and why we need more women in leadership to build inclusive environments where diverse talent can flourish. There were laughs, there were spicy moments, and there were ground-shaking insights from smart women. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did.
Thank you all for coming. This has been a big event tonight for us, and I'm really glad that you're able to spend your Thursday night with us. We've got a huge turnout. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so overwhelmed. We're here to celebrate Ada Lovelace Day. Ada Lovelace is seen as one of the first computer programmers, and she's an inspiration. And I'm pretty sure that you are going to experience 3 inspirational ladies tonight, and you get to hear from them as well. So I'd like to thank you by, again, coming tonight. My name is Lucy Lynn. I'm the Vice Chair of the Australian Computer Society. I've been on the board now for 3.5 years. It's been an honour. Additionally, I have also founded my own business in 2017. It's called Forestland. It's a program management, a education and a marketing consultancy. Very happy to chat if you'd like to further find out more about that. Currently, I'm an impact entrepreneur in residence at Western Sydney University, where I'm upskilling as many women and multicultural people into the ecosystem as possible. It is a passion of mine to try and get more women and multicultural and diverse founders into the ecosystem. And I'm very happy to be doing that. And I think upskilling and learning is how we're going to do it, and giving access to education. Really happy that you're here tonight, because you are going to be upskilled tonight with 3 incredible topics by 3 incredible women. And finally, there's not enough that I do already. I also have a podcast that I launched this year on International Women's Day in March. And I would be very thankful if you could subscribe to our podcast. It's called Emerging Tech Unpacked. It is on YouTube, on Spotify, and also on Apple Podcasts. Yeah, it's everywhere. And I interview incredible women and their careers in STEM, but we also debunk as many interesting emerging tech topics as well. And tonight is actually a live podcast event. It is recorded. You will be appearing on my podcast, and please ask the questions at the end. What will happen is this will be recorded and it will be played. And one thing I want to do is to talk about incredible new emerging technologies. If you are a subscriber already, you'll see that the indoor vertical farming episode is already live. We've got Cassie Jenkins, who's going to be our first panelist. So please welcome onto the stage, Cassie. And our second speaker, we've got CJ Jones. She's the head of Gen AI design at Canva. Welcome, CJ. Hello, would you like to sit there? And lastly, we have Cheryl Shannon, who is the technology deployment manager at IBM. Welcome, Cheryl. Okay, so when I say that we have incredible women, I really mean it. These women are very inspiring. They've got very interesting careers, and they've also working in emerging technologies. Our first guest is already on the podcast, and we're going to learn a little bit more about indoor vertical farming. Who knows what this is? Anyone? Hands up. Love it. Yes. Who has it already in their house? No one. Not yet. Okay. So Cassie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a 1-minute overview? And actually, before we go into what it is, give me a fun fact about yourself as well, please.
It's not a fun fact about myself, but I can give you a fun fact about plants. And this one might turn you off this vegetable or fruit as it actually is. But when you eat a tomato, you're actually eating an ovary.
Oh my God.
Where the liquid and the seeds are is called a locative pocket, basically, and that's an ovary. So there you go, guys.
Oh my God. That's a fun and gross fact, I think. Cassie's a horticulturalist. Would you like to give a 1-minute overview about what you do and, who you are?
So, hi everyone, I'm Cassie. I've not so recently, gone into the vertical farming space after studying horticulture. I was originally in hospitality. I decided to switch careers and somehow I've wound up here and I don't really know what happened. But basically with my role, I am a horticultural operations technician and I'm also the farm success lead. So I basically deal with the day-to-day operations of our research and development farm here in Sydney. And then I also oversee our farms that are set up across Australia and now the world. And I make sure that they get off to a good start and get growing.
Yeah, amazing. Hot at work, I think it was.
Yes, hot.
Horticultural Operations Technician.
Yes, I'm hot.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about indoor vertical farming. I think this is a very fascinating topic. It's all about sustainability. It's all about urban farming. I live in the city. I live in an apartment. Can you tell me how it works and how it works? It'll be great.
Yeah, definitely. So indoor vertical farming is basically set around hydroponic systems and there's varying systems. You can have a little one on your counter in your kitchen that just simply has some water, maybe swirling around in the bottom, and then your plants will sit in that water and you top that up. Otherwise, it can be an NFT channel, which is a nutrient film technique where water and nutrients is flowing across a channel and roots and your plants constantly, or you can have a flood and drain system, which is what ours is based on. And they can be a small setup in an apartment building, in the foyer or in an office, or you can set up hubs all over the place, or big multi-level, huge growing operations. And that's where our system can do both. We can do a little bit smaller and we can do larger as well. And it's about bringing food to where people need it.
Yeah, and can you tell me some of the benefits of why people will have indoor vertical farming? I know that Australia is a massive country. Is it that you can reduce the amount of travel in between, maybe food wastage, etc.?
Definitely. So the longer food has to travel, the less fresh it's going to be. So if you're growing food closer to where people need it, there's going to be less waste from basil wilting out or rotting or things like that. And you can grow to demand. You can also grow things that are out of season. So you can get your basil plants all year round. Coriander is actually a cold climate herb, so you can't really grow it in summer outdoors, especially in Australia. And it's also about supporting farmers. We're not trying to take over the broadacre farming industry. We're just trying to support them by growing and using a lot less water and a lot less fertilizer, which is a big issue.
Yeah. And with all that, is there a lot of challenges? I'm assuming there must be so much challenges in terms of lighting potentially, and maybe even nutrition and taste.
Definitely. Obviously, with vertical and indoor farming, you are going to have challenges with access because you're growing things high instead of across. And then power is another one. Renewable energies are being used more and more. We can support this and supplement our power usage that way. And then nutrients, we're using a lot less fertilizer. Often fertilizer in traditional farming is wasted. It gets washed away in a weather event. If there's an oversupply as well, we can really dial in to what crop we're growing or crops and significantly reduce that.
Yeah, wow. Is there a lot of, what can you grow in indoor vertical farming? Is it smaller plants only or is it much bigger as well?
It depends on the system. Our system has shelving units that can be slot in and moved around, so you can grow really close together or further apart. There is a little bit of a commercial issue in there as well, where the bigger the plant is, the less you can grow because you have less levels. But primarily leafy greens, herbs, lettuces, microgreens, and I've been doing a lot of edible flowers lately, which is fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Flowers you can eat.
Yeah, so we were growing chamomile, snapdragons, marigolds, nasturtiums, violets. Native violets grew really well as well, which is awesome.
Wow. And what's your favorite thing you can eat that's grown in an indoor vertical farm?
Oh.
You can name top 3 things.
My favorite at the moment is baby leaf kale purple Russian, which is, you'll have to look it up, but it's like a frilled kale and it's like that. So
Wow.
that's a technical description of it.
Yeah, sounds very fancy. Does it taste good? Because it's artificially grown. Do you feel like I've tasted it because I've been to the farm and I think it tastes nice, but what's on a general basis? How is the generic across all the various plants? I've only just tasted one.
So I might be biased and say that a lot of our crops taste better than traditionally grown. But the thing with traditional farming is that with the weather, there's stresses. And if the plant's more stressed, it's not going to have that flavor profile. Whereas if you grow it in its perfect environment, all it has to do is concentrate on growing and looking nice and tasting good.
So they're just going to be concentrating on being tasty then?
Yeah.
Wow. And tell me, where is the future of this? Is the future of it going to be growing upwards or no longer outwards anymore? Is it going to be more in the cities now? Is there going to be a lot of robotics? Because I've seen a lot of robotics in indoor vertical farming where I think robots are now picking the plants itself. So can you tell us more about the future of this industry?
I don't know how high that will be able to grow. They might have to balance out eventually. But I think the future is setting up more growing hubs close to city centres, if not right in city centres, and taking that pressure off that food miles and cutting that down. And I really think that Australia isn't at the forefront of vertical farming yet because we're so lucky to have a lot of natural resources with farming. But we will need to reduce our water usage significantly, and vertical farming is a great way to do that. So all those dry climates, really cold climates, vertical farming is really going to take off and grow.
Yeah, we're a very hot country. So do you see this as a benefit with our hot bushfires and summers, etc.?
100%. You can use vertical farming to get germination happening really quickly. You could grow from seed and then do replantings after fire, revegetation. The sky is the limit, as you say.
Sky is the limit. How nice is that? Thank you so much, Cassie, for giving us the lowdown on what indoor vertical farming is. Now we're going to move to CJ. Hi, CJ. CJ, tell us your fun fact.
My fun fact is about design. You know, the font Comic Sans, a lot of designers like making fun of it, but you've probably seen it in school flyers and things like that. It's actually one of the best fonts for people with dyslexia because it has different letter forms. So you can actually distinguish between an A, a B, and a C rather than other fonts.
Oh, wow. I had no idea about that one. I like it. So you're the head of Gen AI at Canva. Can you tell us a little bit more about who CJ is and potentially how you got to become the head of Gen AI at Canva?
Just design of Gen AI, not the whole thing. So I'm CJ. I've been at Canva for 3 years now, and I've been working in machine learning across many different types of product and tech, in ride-hailing apps for matching algorithms, actually being in research in the Allen Institute in Seattle for artificial intelligence. I worked on a natural language processing, basically research engine for other researchers to find the right papers. And I've been working in tech now for 10 plus years, and originally as a advertising art director. And I just wanted to get more into design and understanding and building something that lasted long. And so I've come from the US to Singapore and now to here to find interesting problems and see how we can solve them. And Gen AI, as you've probably seen in the news, is everywhere.
It is everywhere. It is everywhere. And design is everywhere as well. I use it on a daily basis in terms of I'm in marketing and I've got a podcast. So it is just much easier to use. Can you tell us more about the evolution of design and AI and how it came about?
Yeah, sure. So artificial intelligence has been around for 50 plus years. Actually, robotics is part of that, computer vision, machine learning, all of these things. But in design in particular, it's been about understanding very large amounts of data and understanding our users, because as designers, we need to understand what are people doing, how are they behaving, and being able to use that to make better designs and better experiences. Before the big AI boom or the Gen AI advancements, we would use a lot of data processing or data analytics just to understand what people are doing, as well as if you work in search and recommendations, it's about giving the most relevant thing to someone, understanding their needs, being able to personalize. That's the reason why if you use Pinterest, everyone's Pinterest looks different, because that's actually using AI to understand what you like, what you don't like, and serving that to you. But now with the recent booms, what has happened with large language models as well as diffusion models, so generating images and those types of things, we're able to actually process data in a much easier way and in a more understandable way. That's why people use ChatGPT, because you can feel like you're having a conversation with someone and understanding something, whereas before you might have to write a bunch of code to really understand what was happening in a vast amount of data. And it can feel like you can ask anything and get anything back. So that's been quite a boom, because now companies can use that to create really good experiences, to be able to serve up things. And at Canva, that's our Magic Studio suite. So all of these tools that allow you to, for example, auto trim a video to the right thing, sync a beat of a song exactly to a video. We can also generate designs, images. So if you have something in your imagination, you can do it. And that's been the evolution so far. And I think same as with farming, only where to go but up. We're just limited by hardware and computing.
Wow, that was so much information. Might have to get you to unpack some of that. I love that. I think it's really interesting. I find this space to be incredibly fascinating. Can you tell us more about all these things that's happening? Like first it's text, and then it's images, and now it's video, and who knows what else is going to be next. How does this all happen, and where do you, can you tell us more about how it happens and what is the evolution of it all?
Essentially, what we see today is just AI doing math at a very fast pace. And so it's taking things that feel like is the next best thing. So with the text, for example, who is the president of so-and-so country? It can either look that up really quickly, it can put it into a sentence, it can use natural language processing to understand what did you actually write. Same with a diffusion model. So you're generating an image. It's basically taking a lot of images and compositing them together in order to make something brand new. And so that's where it can be really imaginative. You can feel like you can do anything, and it really actually helps small business owners and solo entrepreneurs, because things that they would normally have to find someone who's an expert, they can get part of the way there and then call on experts when they really need it.
Yeah, I think productivity is one of the main things of why AI is so exciting. I was talking to my team today, and we're using a lot of AI for productivity in terms of our content, our imagery, and a lot of it comes back to all these new tools. And we use Canva, and what do you get on top of it? It changes and moves so quickly. How do you sleep at night?
You are never going to be on top of it. Actually, there's a graph of the number of papers published in AI, and that just goes up, and it just keeps going up, and it's going beyond the graph. And for myself and for my team, I just say pick an area you're really passionate about and just use your connections with others, collaborate with people, talk to people, and we can all be mini experts in different things, and then we'll come together to create good ideas.
And what do you think of the future of this space? I think there's going to be so many more personalization that probably is going to happen as well. I think we're already starting to see a lot of that too. Do you see that? Will there be any musicians in the future or movie makers? Is it all going to be done by AI instead?
Yeah, I have a very optimistic view. I think that AI augments human creativity, and it allows us to move beyond, just think outside of the box in a bit more ways. I do think that it'll help us expand our skill sets. That's my optimistic view. A pragmatic view is we got to figure out the ecological impacts and be better with our energy usage, how we're doing computing, laws, everything like that has to get figured out as well. So my optimistic part of that is we'll figure those things out, and it'll be for a brighter future too.
Who's going to figure that out? There's a lot of players in this space.
Some adults. I just like playing with it.
You'll stay in the design lane, would you? Great. Fascinating. Very interesting. Thank you so much, CJ, for that. I'll take that. Thank you. Next, Cheryl, she and I met on a tennis court. We're both tennis players. I know she doesn't think of this, but I think of her as my mentor, an informal mentor. She's given me amazing advice over the years, and very pleased to have Cheryl join us on our panel. She's at IBM, and we love sports and we love data. Right, Cheryl?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can you give us a fun fact first and foremost?
Okay, who's heard of Hawkeye?
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye on a court, on a playing field?
Yeah, tennis players. Yay.
Yes. So fun fact, Hawkeye, it sounds like it's named after having a bird's eye view. It was actually invented by a chap called Paul Hawkins. So it's got a bit of a double meaning.
There you go. I did not know that. I thought it was going to be more exciting. Like it's Hawkins, is it? I like that. I love how you brought in a tennis fun fact. Can you tell us more about Cheryl and who you are?
Sure. So I've had a bit more than 10 years in the industry, unlike our friends at the end, but I actually started as a physical education teacher, which was a brilliant course. I recommend it to anyone. It's diverse, it's fun, you do lots of stuff. However, the teaching part was not great for me. I didn't have the personality at that stage to push back on the kids, and consequently, I never went into teaching. But I did get a job as an executive assistant in a software house, and I got into training very quickly, then into installations, technical sales, all sorts of things like that. So it was actually quite a blessing.
And now you're at IBM. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do there? But also tell us a little bit more about the cool sports and data stuff that you are exposed to there.
Sure. I am a large contracts manager, essentially. Some of you might know the role as a customer success manager, but I'm at the commercial end, not the technical end. So I leave all the clever stuff there to others who, like CJ, can just reel it off and really understands what we're talking about, albeit we all have to do the training and get through it. So that's where I fit in. Largely on those contracts, it's about making sure that our customers get the value they deserve, that they signed up for. And as they hand off from the negotiators to the people who own the contract, we keep reminding them what they've bought, because there is a habit to forget. And the last thing you want is stuff just sitting there and goodies that are never used.
Okay. You're a chaser-upper, are you?
I'd like to think a leader. If you just leave it to people to do, it's not going to happen.
That's true. Okay, so I love talking about sports and data. We're both tennis players. Can you tell us a little bit more about all the cool things that is happening in sports and data?
Wow, there are so many cool things happening. Whatever level you're involved in sport, there will be something that professional teams are already using AI and data for. So from a player's perspective, we're now up to clothes that have sensors built through it. So you might have heard of IoT or Internet of Things. Every movement can be caught, every hormone measured, all the things, the heart rate. You've probably seen cyclists and others will have little monitors on them. So it's going beyond that now and gathering so much data, it's frightening. But once you've got the data, a bit like CJ said, someone's got to think of it, but you can find uses for it. You can find ways to really drill into it and make magic happen. So that's from the player's perspective. It helps also protect them. So the data can indicate trends. Is something going wrong, which perhaps they wouldn't even notice, let alone the people working with them to keep them fit and healthy on the field. So that data has meaning. It helps those who are looking for new people for the team work out who's the next best thing. What are the trends? Are they going up? Are they going down? So a whole heap of things. And you as people who go and experience an event, whether you do it digitally or you're actually in person, they're using the data to make your experience better. Things like the US Open, they have 128 players in the men's singles and the women's singles to start with. That's a lot of courts, a lot of data, a lot of games. And the teams who are responsible for bringing that to us on the various TV channels can't possibly do commentary for every single game. So now AI's coming in. They've taught it what's the court, what's the rules, what's the vocab, and it's generating a couple of things. One, the shorts that you see, so picking out the highlights that are the best ones. Someone probably goes over it after that, but it's narrowing it down to what do people want to see if they've got 10 minutes to see a game. And it's coming up with the commentary in a language that fits the sport. So lots of good things happening. Those who are in football, VAR of various flavours. It started out working out whether a ball had crossed a line or not. It's now doing so much more every time a ball is touched anywhere on the field. And again, that's all about then using that data to work out what happens next.
I love watching sports, and I know that sometimes I yell at the umpires or the referees and I'm like, you've got that wrong. Are we now using AI to be able to assist with this? Is there so many sensors on the court, in the stadiums, that we can actually get precise with everything? Are we now going to have, and we're tennis players, so there's no lines people in a lot of all the Grand Slam tournaments anymore. They've been replaced by Hawkeye and AI. So is that going to be the trend, do you think, in other sports too?
Look, I think it probably is. But personally, if there's money to spend on that at the lower levels, I'd rather see it spent on getting people into sport rather than taking away the experience, which often has led people into leadership roles. It's given them the confidence to go and lead on other things because they went and ref the netball on a Saturday afternoon and got used to being in control and making calls. So I have to say, I'm not that interested in seeing it filter all the way down to the grassroots. It does still make mistakes, though. The stats, I think, on Hawkeye at the moment say that the average is it's 2.3 millimetres out. It's not perfect.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of balls are probably called in, but they should be out.
Look, it could be either way. There's been a study done of how do umpires respond when they know that technology is checking their calls, and they've actually gone more conservative. Whereas once they'd have been brave and said, I think that was out, if they're in doubt, they're now far more likely to say it was in. If someone challenges, no one's got a problem with the tech being right, but if it goes the other way, they tend to catch some flack. So it is influencing the behaviour of those who remain in charge.
Wow, fascinating. So I'm also interested in the data. There's so much data that's collected, as you say, wearables, sensors, IoT, etc. What do these companies do with that data? What good and bad things can you do with this data?
Oh, what good things we do. Okay, so protect the players is probably a good one. So use the data to predict and to change how someone does particular actions. If you're taking data points of every action that someone does, then you can work out if biomechanically they're causing themselves a future injury. Okay, so get in early, get it fixed, and let their real talent keep shining rather than seeing them off the field with an injury that could have been avoided.
So it's preventative, but is there any bad things that you can do with this data as well?
There's always bad things you can do with data. The data and the sports tech is meant to make sport and the entertainment better. EPSN, fantasy football, you now have a choice. The CEO of that has two views. One, please keep playing just because you enjoy it and go with your gut. If that's what you think, that player's better than that, and you get fun out of it, then that's how you buy your players and swap your team. But if you want to win, go and use the data because it will tell you the truth about the comparison of two players.
There's so much to debunk there, and there's so many other sports we can talk about as well. But I want to talk about more about your careers now. So just pass that over to Cassie. So we all have global careers. I've lived in 5 countries myself. I didn't talk about my fun fact. My fun fact is that I have lived in I have lived in 5 countries on 4 continents, and I've been to 52 countries. So I love to travel and I love to experience different cultures. That is my little fun fact. Talk to me if you want to talk about travel. Cassie, you've lived in Canada. I have too. And talk to me about how you tend to get these roles. Like, how'd you go from hospitality to indoor vertical farming?
I've also driven heavy machinery. I've done all sorts of things. I think I am just quite an open person. So I say yes to a lot of things and I like to explore. So from hospitality, it's quite personable. I was getting a little bit disenchanted with the industry, especially during COVID. All I could do was garden. So from there, and having family that have beautiful gardens that have been in magazines and things like that, I was like, maybe I'll study horticulture. And I literally said to myself, I'll just see where it takes me. Maybe I'll stay in hospitality. Maybe I won't. Maybe it'll just help me take care of my own garden one day. I can do that. And it was at TAFE. It was very affordable. From there, we went into another lockdown, and then I was like, oh, I can actually keep working if I go into garden maintenance. Hated that industry. It's not very sustainable. You feel like you're looking after gardens. You feel like you're doing something good for the environment. And a lot of things end up in waste and a lot of unnecessarily fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides and things like that. So I wanted to go into something more sustainable and better for the environment. After living in the mountains in Canada, you really see global warming and impacts like that, and same in Australia. I found Invertigro. They actually turned me down when I first applied.
Oh,
Yeah, look at me now.
on the panel, on the podcast. How did you do that? Were you persistent?
I just said to them, if things change, please feel free to reach out to me and get me out of this garden maintenance job. And from there, I just started as a farmhand down in the farm. We were growing herbs and things for a Woolworths project. And then as we progressed, I just moved up the chain a little bit, and yeah, now I'm looking after farms all over Australia, and I still don't know how I really got here, guys, but I'm here. So
She's persistent.
Yeah.
Love it. This is how you do it, everyone. You go knock on the doors. Even if they reject you, you keep going, and
honestly,
look at you now. I love it. DJ, you've been around the world. You're American. You've lived in Singapore, now in Sydney. Tell us a little bit about how you get your roles.
Same as Cassie, I'm very persistent. I also get bored very easily. So I need to have a very interesting problem to solve. And if I don't find it interesting or it feels solved-ish already, I want to find that next thing. And I think part of that is also challenging yourself beyond. When you work in the US, it's very US-centric. Even if you're at a global company, it's all about the US. And I wanted to go beyond that. My parents are actually in the military. They had lived across and abroad everywhere. And I wanted to have that same experience. So I actually applied to a role at Grab in Singapore. And I thought it was in their Seattle office. And it turned out to be in Singapore. And they said, would you want to move? And I said, why not? So I just having
Definitely move countries.
Yeah. And then when Canva happened as well, they said you have to relocate to Australia. And I asked my partner, would you want to do it? And they said yes. So I was like, okay, let's go. So I think it's also that persistence, but then also that curiosity to move around and try new things. And there was a lot of jobs where I didn't really enjoy, but just having that experience, that's what I wanted. And so I stuck with it to get that and go on to the next thing.
Yeah, nice. Cheryl, I know you spent a bit of time in the UK. Tell us more about how you got your global roles and how you came from physical education to a career in technology.
Couple of things. Okay, so we went to the UK to travel, and if I add them up, I might just about pip you for 52 countries that I've forgotten how. And some of the ones I went to don't exist anymore. The names have changed, they've merged, there's all sorts of things that happened. Stories. But in terms of getting a role, literally I landed in the UK, we went traveling, we came back, we needed money, and I applied based on the skills that I already had. I was fortunate to get into a really good company, one of the best I ever worked for. And after a couple of years with them, I was invited to look at a newspaper ad and please apply for a different role, which got me into a company which was acquired by IBM at one point. That was the magic. But it was about, as CJ said, stay inquisitive, look for new things, keep reinventing yourself and stay interested.
Yeah, as I said, I've lived in 5 countries on 4 continents. And I think one thing that really helped me is my networks, because a lot of my roles I actually got via people that I know. So please, always be open to your network and connect with the people here and to be in touch with people, because you never know where you'll go. I was in American Express here in Sydney, and then via my network was able to get a role in Canada. And that's how I moved as well. And so I think your networks and being persistent as the panel really does help, because you will go there if this is what you want. I'd like to talk about our workplace as well. So the future of work, it's a huge word. Where do you see where do you see the future of work? And the ways of work are really changing. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the future of work, especially how it affects women as well. And I think that's quite important. So Cassie, can you tell us a little bit more about your thoughts about the future of work, especially?
I can only really speak on the industries that I've worked in, and really, especially with vertical farming, it's evening the playing field, because instead of having to rely on manual labor and being a big, strong person, in vertical farming, eventually we're going to have robots that are going to be picking tomatoes or strawberries or things like that. We have a lot of vertical farming is designed around ergonomics, because you're inside. Systems to go up and bring crops down, improvements to washing, auto harvesters, auto seeders, things like that. So it is creating a space for and more even space for everyone. Agriculture started around women. We were the first people to plant crops and things like that. And then again, with flexible work, like working inside a farm or being more of a flexible timeline with the hours, women have more flexibility with that. We are still at home primarily taking care of the children or carer roles, and having the flexibility to come in and harvest some basil in the morning and then go home and do whatever else you want, actually. I think that's really important.
My God, can you imagine being a farmer in your day as well, on top of doing laundry? Incredible. CJ, design and AI, where do you see this going in the future of work?
Yeah. Tech companies were meant to be the, forefront of future of work. And then as you see in the news, they're requiring people to go back to the office, which kind of countering that.
Not flexible at all.
I will say Canva is hybrid 100%, and they won't be going back. But I do see that design, AI, all of this technology actually enables people to have the flexibility that they want. And especially for me as a designer, I am creative at different times of the day. And so that's what it offers. When I was a freelancer, I would choose the hours that I had. And I think that's really important for women with the carer roles that we have, with even just what we would want to do in our daily lives. That's what it enables. And I think with AI, things that are very hard tasks or the yucky tasks, you can use AI to take those away, so that way you can have more of that creative time or more of that freedom that you would like, rather than, for example, sitting at your email and wondering what do you write. You can at least get a first draft going and you don't have to think so much about it. With also technology, how it's going, Zoom conferencing, all of this kind of stuff, I think it'll enable more hybrid work. I think that's on us to pressure companies to enable that more.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Productivity, I think, is a huge reason of why I think I like AI a lot. And I agree with you, it's how you can be more productive, but also just is easier to your day. I use it a lot to brainstorm and to give me thoughts about how I should pursue something. I'm not the best person at blank slates, pieces of paper. I use AI to help me kickstart some thoughts. Cheryl, what are your thoughts about the future of work?
Couple of things in relation to sport or in general?
In relations to sports, women, and in general.
Okay. Look, I'm hopeful that the new technologies will allow more women into the field, in that if you're clever and you're interested from a data science perspective or other aspects where you can come up to speed that much more quickly, perhaps some of the boys' club will disappear, because people can prove that there's another way to help achieve winning teams. I'm not saying that the guys who've been in it forever should go away. They have amazing experience to bring, but I'm just hoping that some of that can be shared around with the new tech coming in to get people visible and known more quickly for achieving results by a different method.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with you. I think boys clubs is a concept that hopefully in the future won't no longer exist, ideally, because they're going to be letting as many people through as possible. I think there's opportunities for everyone, right? Thank you for that. Final question from me before we open the floor to the audience. I read in 2023, Bloomberg says that women CEOs have finally outnumbered Johns among the S&P 500 companies. Can you believe this? There are 41 women CEOs and there are 60 Johns, James, and Roberts. I want to talk about women and leadership because I find this a conundrum that we're in 2024 and there's still not very many women in leadership. So how can we increase more women in leadership and support each other? And potentially it is probably part of the boys club. How do we get them to open their doors a little bit to this?
Yeah, that is a spicy question. I'm not entirely sure how to answer that. I do think that times are very slowly changing. I think women are great collaborators in the workforce. We're not, oh, I'm not sure about my idea. It's no, I would like your input on my idea so we can make it better and build on that. And I think if we keep doing that and keep pushing forward with that, everyone's going to start opening up, and it is opening up. Yeah.
Great. We need more opportunities, more opening up. CJ?
I have a spicy thought on this one.
Oh, yeah. I want to hear spicy thoughts. I like spice.
I don't think it's worth trying to change the boys club. I think we should just lead and found our own things. And I think that
girls clubs.
I think that technology actually enables this now, the advancements that we've had. So before, when it would feel like I can't even self-fund my own startup, I have to get through investment and go through VCs. You can build your own thing and start it from very little funding. And with AI now, you can even accelerate that. So I don't think it's worth trying to change. It's like Sisyphus moving a boulder up a hill. I think we should just found our own things or find companies that are founded by them. That's one of the reasons why I joined Canva, is because I wanted to work for a company that was founded by a woman. And so I think offering more opportunities for people to have those.
Yeah, I love it. Very purposeful. I love how Canva is founded by a woman. I think it's a fantastic thing. We need more female founders. I teach female founders in a university, and this is something that's very passionate. It's a huge passion of mine. Cheryl, how do we change leadership? You've probably worked the longest out of everybody on this panel. Can you tell us what have you seen so far and how can we continue to evolve?
My first thought is that we as women have to get better at putting our hand up and not wait for the opportunity. There's a statistic that says that women will wait until they can tick 80% of the asks in a job ad. Men will go for 55, I think is the number.
Or even lower, if you ask me.
So be brave, and if you think it's something that you want to do, remember that growing into a role is a plus as well. Now, that said, I know this way the CVs get reviewed these days, it's hard, but shape it to what you want to be doing. Think out of the box about what you've already done. If you were that kid on the netball court who's been umpiring since you were 10, that's leadership. Make sure you fit it into your CV. It's important. I've hired quite a few grads, and the ones who come through are the ones who've got more than they've achieved their MBA or their grad thing. It's the ones who got involved in the clubs, who went on committees, who did the volunteer work, who were out on the sports fields. It shows breadth and interest and the ability to collaborate. So think about all those things you did. Officeworks, if that was your Saturday job, it's brilliant. The number of things you need to do in retail to be there for 2 or 3 years is phenomenal. So just reword it. Don't say I was at Officeworks. Just shape it into things that you did. It all counts.
Yeah. And yeah, I love that. That's very true. And don't discount volunteer work. Can I just say, I'm a vice chair of the Australian Computer Society. This is a voluntary role, but it gives me exposure to board work and it gives me exposure to understanding a professional association. So don't discount that. It's given me leadership skills as well. So if you want to get something, I think you need to go after it. And also, if you have to, volunteer yourself for it so you can get that exposure so it's easier. And then hopefully at one stage you can get paid for it later on, because we all want to get paid, ladies. Yes, we do. All right. So questions from the audience. Oh, look at all these hands are flying up. I love it. I'll take that. Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
So the question I've got is around Gen AI and ownership. So obviously with everyone using it, Canva going to enterprise, wanting to have it everywhere, more and more companies are going to be using it to generate copy, images, whatever. What is Canva thinking about as far as copyright infringement, copyright generally, because that's a big thing. And the other thing is ownership, because anything that goes out into the public domain may or may not be owned by you. And with Leonardo AI, I use it like every day. When you pump in images and stuff like that, you are technically infringing on copyright. Like you're doing that. But because it's now been transformed, you can then say, let's transform it in nature, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that sort of. So what's the view, or have you guys thought about that and where that's going? Because everyone in large companies, small companies are going to be using it to generate copy, outbound, whatever, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, great question. I told CJ this is coming, didn't I? I knew this is coming. CJ.
Thank you for the question. Just for, I guess, knowledge for everyone, the reason why this happens is that these models are built off of scraping public data. So whatever is available on the internet, that is what happens. And that's where we get into infringement. And especially if you're an artist, it's not a great thing, especially if someone can write in the style of blank. And especially for artists that have passed on, right? They can't get credit for this. In terms of Canva, we're really strong with our creator community and ensuring that they get the attribution that they would want. But this is actually a very hard problem to solve because so many models that are built on this public data. So a couple of things that we're exploring is how do we actually give that attribution to creators? How do we actually see this was created from this image and therefore we should attribute and potentially pay them? Again, it's a really hard problem to solve, and that's why we work with our creators to actually, and with the models that are available to us, Leonardo, Stable Diffusion, all of these, to see how did you actually get this data and what is your data and where is it coming from? We're not the only ones though. Adobe has the same problem. Many other companies do and trying to do that. So what we've been trying to do is how do we ethically do this and how do we do it with creators in mind? One idea is that can we have artists actually train a model in their style and then they get paid based on that. So if anyone ever uses this style, they can then get paid for that and then it's attributed to them. I would say it's an industry problem and it's not solved really, but what we're actively doing is working with our community to actually understand what we can do here. Same with copy and content. If you say you write in the style of an author, that author isn't getting paid for that. With the models that we work with as well, we're trying to understand how can we do this. And as an enterprise, you would want to ensure that whatever you're producing, or if your employees are producing that, it can be used ethically and safely. It's a really good question. I would say that we're working on it, but no one really has a good answer. So that's why we're trying to do it. Yeah. Question is, do you think it's a governmental thing to come in? And I think the EU is actually the most ahead in this with their AI legislation and how that is copyrighted and how it is used. Currently, it's in the public domain, so with education and these sorts of things, but I think it'll be a mix of both. At Canva, we also actively work with policymakers to understand what are their concerns, not only from citizens, but also within the government, and then how can we do that? Part of that is also, as many enterprises will have to do, is do we actually just start building our own models, which also takes a lot of data. How do you get that data ethically and source it? It's a really good question. It's just an industry problem that isn't quite solved yet. If you ask me in 6 months, maybe I have an answer for you that's more not just talking about it.
Wow, 6 months, that's it? Wow, I can't wait to. Cheryl, just wanted to add, you mentioned big and small. So on the whole here tonight, I'm here as me, an individual, but I happen to work for IBM. For those of you who are looking at AI at your companies for a larger picture, please check your contracts, see who owns the insights when you plug your customers' data into a tool. You want it for your business, you want to protect your customers, you want to protect your and their future. So please make sure that you're not giving away the farm. It's yours, it matters. And with all the generative stuff that's coming out now, it's not going to be too long before the pool of real data is so polluted, it's going to be really hard to work out
what's been based on fact and what's been based on yesterday's creative come out of a tool. So just beware.
Yeah, it's very handy to have you on the panel.
So firstly, thank you so much for very inspiring and empowering sharings about leadership in general and particularly for women. So I have one question essentially for CJ. Yes, I know Gen AI is such a hype. And what I notice is that, okay, now we have technologies. We used to have to carry rocks on our back, but we don't have to do that anymore. So we go to the gyms. So what is the impact of generative AI or AI in general on individuals' creativities? Because now we have muscles that we don't get as much exercise as previously. And what is the impact on the creative industry in your opinion?
I think what you'll see with AI is that it will show the taste level of the people making it. And if you don't put your creativity into it and use it in a way that showcases your mind, your talents, your taste, everyone's things will look the same. So I actually think what will happen is we will crave more human created things. Right now it's in this inverse where it feels like companies would rather pay AI to do stuff instead. And I think that that's one end of the pendulum. I think we'll start swinging towards the other way. The same way that we really value handmade things rather than something that is like fast fashion or mass produced. So I think that's what will happen. Myself as a creative, what I actually use AI for and even image generation is to explore my taste, which previously it would take me quite a lot of time to really hone that craft and skill. I can now use it to my advantage and see what actually comes out of this. And is this something that says it's mine? And to your point, is this actually something that's mine or is it someone else's? And what does that mean? And so I think what you'll see, and I can share that even our creative studio within Canva uses generative AI to showcase their own taste, to really expand and go beyond. It's something that they've also shot or done photo shoots or done video shoots. So I think that it'll enable people to feel creative and potentially explore that further on their own. I think what you'll see is that people will start, and they already are, going against AI because they're like, wow, everything looks the same. How can we be more creative? So I'm also an optimistic. So I hope it'll go.
Yeah. And you know what? Like when I put in things into all the AI tools, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., you can tell what's written by AI. 100%. You can tell it's written by a machine. You can tell that there's no human input into this. And as someone who reads a lot of content, as a content creator myself, like I can tell straight away. And so if I see something that's written by AI and has no other human input, that's just a straight copy and paste, honestly, I would feel like this person isn't very good at their job because they're very lazy. You need to differentiate yourself. I actually think the humans are fighting back. I think to be able to use your creativity is what will differentiate you in the future. And I actually think that's going to be a really good skill to have. We're going to be so inundated with so much AI and everyone's going to look the same. It's all going to sound the same. It's not going to be very exciting anymore. And I do not want that to happen because I think we are all individuals. And I do think that we are all going to need to train that and exercise that creativity skill. And I do hope that in the future, that's one of the skills that will be in the future at work. All right. This has been a fantastic panel. We've heard incredible insights from our amazing panelists. I would like to thank Cassie, CJ, and Cheryl, all three C's. Thank you so much.
How great were our panelists, CJ, Cheryl, and Cassie, the triple C's, I call them. A powerful theme emerged during our talk, the necessity for women to take charge and innovate in their fields. We stress that technology enables flexible work environments, which should create pathways for more women to excel and lead. I really believe that when we leverage networking and mentoring opportunities, it will help us overcome barriers and we grow stronger together in a more supportive environment. This live podcast event serves as a purpose for women to step up and redefine the future of tech and empower women in their chosen careers. Whether finding companies, pursuing leadership roles, or driving sustainable initiatives, the message was clear. Women are not just participants. We are key players in shaping the future of technology and innovation. By supporting one another and embracing our unique strengths, women are poised to create a more sustainable and equitable world. I started Emerging Tech Unpacked because I wanted to educate more people about the latest innovation, not to feel left out by fast-moving societal and technological changes, and to inspire more people, especially women and students, to explore STEM careers. We would love for you to be involved. This is my side hustle passion project, and I'd love to attain sponsorship, promotion, and other collaborations to increase our impact and to spend more time working on this important mission and cause. Let's talk if you are able to support us with monetary, in-kind, or promotional sponsorship or partnerships so we can make this happen. Just like the Australian Computer Society. Thank you to the ACS for sponsoring our live podcast event. For more information about the latest episodes, to learn more about each technology and how you can contact us for sponsorship, promotion, and guest speaking collaborations, visit our website, emergingtechunpacked.com. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to watch or hear all our episodes, and to follow us on our social media channels on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook to stay updated with the latest news. You can find me on LinkedIn searching for Lucy Lin. We welcome all feedback and will be very grateful if you can help us grow and spread the word by forwarding this episode to a friend and giving us a 5-star review. Thank you for your attention. I hope I've unpacked generative AI design, sports and data, and indoor vertical farming a little bit more for you so you can better understand these incredible new and emerging technologies and innovations. See you in the next Emerging Tech Unpacked episode soon.